I went all out and made a masking thumbnail to mask my video since it's about masking. And I'd had a couple of messages from people wanting to create professional looking thumbnails for me. And I'm like, oh, I can do it myself. I don't know if I'm lazy or if it's just executive dysfunction or if that's just not really the look I'm going for. I'm not sure. But since this is about masking and how we cover up autistic traits to look more professional sometimes, or other times just to fit in or whatever, I thought it was a good idea. I also thought it was a good idea to kind of show you how I mask my appearance. So this is kind of how I would or do dress for work or even going out, because I'm not really, I don't really go out that much anymore anyway. But I thought about how I mask, and I think the main way in which I mask is just by being quiet. And I'm an introvert, so that's not really hard. It takes way less energy than trying to be social and follow all those absolutely mind-boggling social rules that there are out there. And I've never really been good at the social thing or communication. I've always struggled with that. So just being quiet and letting people make their assumptions, that became my way of masking. And for the majority of the time anyway, because whenever I'm quiet, people fill that silence with whatever script goes through their mind, and then it's not my responsibility. It's whatever they imagined that I'm thinking is on them. Maybe that's a bad way of going about it, but it's way less of an energy drain for me to do it that way. And I've watched a couple of different content creators, ladies that are quite a bit younger than me, and the ways in which they mask. And I'm like, damn, no wonder they're exhausted. It's so complicated, and the complexities of all that are exhausting just to think about. But, and not to say that I don't get exhausted when I mask, but it's usually different. I avoid a lot of situations also at this point in my life. I know what kind of situations to avoid so that I don't have to mask. And I'm trying to just unmask in general in all the areas of my life as much as I can. But, you know, with the quiet thing, I've heard that saying, I don't know who to attribute it to. I think maybe Mark Twain or somebody, but it's better to remain silent and be thought whatever than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. And I guess I kind of took that advice to heart. And so I thought, if I'm quiet, then people will just make their assumptions, and then I'm not really responsible for whatever assumptions they make. So if I just dress basic, kind of in the whole basic B uniform, then they'll just make their assumptions that I'm just another quiet neurotypical going about her business, and then I won't have to really engage with people too much. And I've had people think that I'm stuck up, which isn't the case. I like this quote from Steel Magnolias, which is not one of my favorite movies, but still, the quote's good. An ounce of pretension is worth a pound of manure. And I totally believe that. I 100% agree with that. So I'm not stuck up. And so me being quiet doesn't come from a place of feeling superior or anything like that. Um, it comes from a place of avoidance. And a lot of times, the majority of the time, sensory input is just so overwhelming for me that it's, and communication and social things are hard for me too. So put all three of them together and it's just so overwhelming. So me being quiet doesn't come from any kind of place of being a snob or anything like that. It comes from being overwhelmed and trying to avoid more overwhelm. So I started masking whenever I was a kid. I started imitating my brother because I was in trouble all the time, or nearly all the time, and he was, pretty much perfect. And so, or at least behavior, my parents seemed to, he skated by a lot. And so he was also kind of mean to me, and he'll say was mean to him too, but he's 9 years older than me. Who do you think had the advantage there? So, I would mimic him and mirror him. And so as a way to try to avoid being in trouble. And also I found that whenever I would mimic or mirror him and his interests, that he was much nicer to me, way nicer to me, and actually would interact with me more. And so I wanted him to like me, and I thought that he hated me, like literally thought that he hated me. So I was discovering that mirroring him got me better treatment. So I started doing that. And that did not become my personality because we are totally different. I'm an R2D2, complete R2 unit. I'm decent with maintenance and repair and machines and computers and in social situations. I'll just most likely be running around making little chaotic noises. And he is a total C3PO. Protocol droid through and through. Good at, like, he's in higher administration. He's good at diplomacy. He's very much into social etiquette, and he's got a social circle of some of the most neurotypical friends you could ever find. And he seems to be able to navigate neurotypical society very well. And I'm completely the opposite. So, I only still mask when I'm around him and my family in that way. So, but that's gotten me through quite a few job interviews. Just imitating my brother, who really has his shit together, has gotten me through some job interviews and probably got me the job that I have currently. But that's the one way that stands out to me that I still mask. And the other ways in which I mask are, basically based on outward appearance and relying on the assumptions that people make and the conclusions they jump to, and whatever impressions they just get from my appearance and me being quiet. I rely heavily on that because I've never been good at masking. I've tried when I was younger, and I was completely unsuccessful. And it wasn't for a lack of trying to fit in and trying to learn social rules and learn how to communicate. Like, I read books about this stuff, and I can, like, cognitively, I understand what they're saying in the books. I understand the concepts. I just can't put those concepts into practice. When it comes to doing the things that I've read about, there's just some block there that prevents me from being able to recognize the social cues and like when to insert myself into a conversation and stuff like that, and what the right response is and all of that stuff. So all of those books I read, just it helps me from an observer standpoint. Like I can observe the situation and know what's going on, but trying to mask and insert myself into the scene as a participant, it goes horribly wrong for me. And so I just would rather play the role of the observer and be an audience member, I guess, than an active participant. So yeah, I rely heavily on my appearance to mask in like professional and social situations. And in my private life, I don't really have to mask in front of my boyfriend, and my friends. I guess there are certain things, like I know that I kind of have to tone down my enthusiasm about some things because it's not because it's going to end a friendship or anything, but like I can tell when they get irritated with me, and like I just have to kind of rein it in, and I have to not be as direct as I would just instinctually be, because I know that like at least one of my friends is very sensitive, and I have to think about the sentence before it leaves my mouth with her. And I suspect that all three of my friends have some form of neurodivergence, and that's probably how we've remained friends for over a decade. One of them I know is ADHD, but the other two I just kind of suspect because I see the traits there. Now that I know what to look for, but I just still have to sometimes censor myself or suppress things. And so that's a big part of masking, I guess, is suppression. Like I do suppress stimming or as much as I can, since I'm unaware of it half the time. I don't know, like this necklace I'm wearing, I wear it a lot, and it becomes a stem toy for me. And I will just go crazy with it, and then I'll find myself doing that, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to stop. But stemming has been a thing for me pretty much throughout my life. I sucked my thumb and then bit my nails and then bit my cuticles, and I did the knee trotting thing and knuckle cracking, and I play with my hair, and I have to definitely suppress that one in conversations, because when you're playing with your hair and you're talking to somebody, they get the wrong impression. So I don't want to mislead anybody with my stems, that's for sure. And so I kind of have to suppress that. And I was kind of forced to suppress those things as a kid, like I obviously, a lot of kids do the thumb sucking thing. But when I started biting my nails, they painted my nails with this bitter stuff to get me to stop, and started chewing on my cuticles, and then I would just get a hand slapped out of my mouth and was told to stop cracking my knuckles. And I had a boyfriend in college that would put his hand on my knee like forcefully and like stop me from the knee trotting thing. And so he did that so frequently that I stopped doing that, and I don't know where all that energy went. But probably with playing with my hair, I don't know. But so suppressing stems has been a big part of it. And so there are other ways in which I mask, and it's kind of like a completely different type of masking than this type. So I'll show you. Ta-da! I'm tattooed. Surprise! Tattoos are kind of another way that I mask. And I didn't really even realize it because I got my first tattoo as a senior in high school. And it was hidden, is hidden. So, but I did that because I really liked the art, and just like, I've always been perceived as being innocent isn't exactly the word, I guess, but something like that. Naive and gullible, probably more like it, but there's a naivety to me, I guess, that people would think that I was kind of innocent, goody two shoes, stuck up, that kind of thing. So, and you know, me relying on people's assumptions, being quiet and dressing basic, I guess, probably doesn't help with that assumption, but that gets me by in the professional environment just fine. But, you know, when it comes to social things, I don't have anything in common with basic bees, I guess. So, tattoos became a way for me to express myself, for one thing. But also, I thought after I got, this one, I thought that was kind of a way for me to make myself unapproachable in a different kind of way. So my first husband told me that I wasn't enough of a badass to rock a skull tattoo. So what do you think I did when we got divorced? I drew myself a skull tattoo design, and I took it to a tattoo artist, and he converted it to a more skin canvas friendly design. And so that's what this is. And so I think that kind of subconsciously I was thinking that if I had a skull tattoo, I would seem a little more edgy and unapproachable in that sense. And I'm not, like, I don't want to be unapproachable because I'm antisocial. I want to be unapproachable because it makes me really nervous and anxious when people approach me uninvited, I guess. And it's a way for me to avoid awkward social situations too, because tattoos are a conversation starter that it doesn't involve the weather or stories of people's kids or things like that. And so it's a conversation starter that I can actively engage in enthusiastically. So that's also part of it. Like, if they do approach me, a lot of times it's because they noticed the art and will have questions about it, and that is totally cool with me, and I'm usually excited to talk about it. And the other one is my dog, my basset hound, so I'm very, very excited to talk about that one. And I haven't gotten my second dog tattooed yet because because I'm not made of money. But I kind of rely on that to project an image, I guess. But it also kind of conflicts with the other image, but it's more unique to me, I guess, because with considering all the things that I really love, this outward appearance is way it's not really a mask. It's just like, I think of tattoos kind of as a form, can be a form of masking, but I didn't really start getting them with the intention of doing that. And so I have had people that saw me met me in the wintertime in the basics, and then I'm cold all winter, so I never wear short sleeves. And so they'll be nice to me and I'll think that we're cool. And then in the summer, when the sleeves come off, they'll just instantly start treating me differently because of the tattoos. And it's just like, it seems like they have this, I don't know what you call it, they're hang-ups. That's all it is. They have hang-ups about tattoos and tattooed people. And usually these are people that are older than me. So millennials and Gen Z, they don't care. So these people that meet me with the sleeves on and then later on find out I'm tattooed, it's like they seem like, you're not who I thought you were. You were pretending this whole time. When I wasn't pretending. I was just wearing my long sleeves, and I'm not wearing those to hide myself. Like, I'm not ashamed of my tattoos, and I like showing them off. And I do wear basics with basics that are short sleeve too, and they're not hidden. So, but these, the people that, change their mindset about me once they see that, usually it's not like I would have had a successful friendship with them or anything, if because that's, judging someone on their appearance, even though sometimes I rely on people making assumptions on my appearance. I don't like to encourage that. I don't like to encourage people to make judgments on people's appearance, because, like, shame on you for doing that. I know that we're all guilty sometimes of doing that to some degree, but it's not a good thing to encourage at all. So, yeah, just relying on other people's assumptions, being quiet, suppressing my stems for sure. Those are, I guess, mask strategies that I employ. Another thing, like masking when I'm uncomfortable, when there's sensory stuff going on. And I'm much better now at just removing myself from those environments altogether and knowing what types of environments will trigger sensory overload or a migraine. I'm really good at knowing what those environments are and avoiding them now. But when I was younger, I would go into these, social situations or go to events and stuff where there's lots of people and I'm completely uncomfortable and I don't really like people touching me. That's another funny thing about tattoos. Like, I don't mind someone going over my skin with a needle for hours, but somebody lightly touching me or bumping into me, and oh my gosh, I just want to run away or punch them. And we know that's not socially acceptable. But whenever I would get into these, like a concert or an event, like, let's say it's like St. Patrick's Day and everybody goes out for the pub crawl or parade or something, and everybody's all squashed together. There's tons of noise, and you go into a bar and there's lights, and those situations would be absolutely maddening for me. But I would try to still smile and act like I'm okay and still try to function, and I would be completely overwhelmed, and a lot of times in those situations I would just not say a word to anybody, jump in my car and leave. I think they call it an Irish goodbye. And if you're Irish and you're watching this, if y'all invented that, then kudos. Thank you. And I hope that's not an offensive term, to call it an Irish goodbye. When you just skedaddle without saying a word. I think it's awesome. But yeah, I would be completely overwhelmed, but I would attempt to mask. I would attempt to cover up the fact that I was completely uncomfortable with all of the sensory stuff. And I'm very uncomfortable with a lot of things that have to do with beauty standards and, making yourself look presentable. I have a lot of issues with sensory issues with things like that. They make me completely uncomfortable. But I think that as well as sensory triggers, environmental triggers, that needs its own video, like sensory nightmares and stuff. But yeah, those are the ways in which I mask, and I do my videos with no makeup on usually, and most of the time I just got out of the shower, my hair is still a little bit wet, and I'm getting ready for bed, and I'm wearing PJs or loungewear, and so I'm about as unmasked as a person can possibly be when talking to their phone. And I might censor my language a little bit because sometimes I have a potty mouth. But other than that, it's pretty much me, how I am, unmasked. And, masking is not, it can be so draining, and it can lead to burnout really bad and a meltdown really fast. So I'd like to encourage everyone to unmask. It's pretty liberating.